Welcome everyone to our Monday Night Wellness webinars and product education series. And tonight we are going to be diving into the adulteration of dietary supplements with Dr. David Colby.
And Dr. Colby has a doctorate in pharmacy, PhD in chemistry. He conducts research on natural products. He teaches dietary supplements and medicinal chemistry at the University of Mississippi. And some of his work has been so valuable that it's been commercialized and reported in the Wall Street Journal. And he has over 25 scientific peer-reviewed publications to his name. So we are thrilled to have you with us, Dr. Colby, and very interested in hearing about this topic, and you're going to start by telling us something about that ephedra there.
Yes, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and it's very happy to be here tonight. So first off, that picture that you have on my front slide is a picture of ephedra. This is a herbarium voucher specimen. It's commonly used to identify, the specimens are basically used to identify species of plants. This is taken from the National Center of Natural Products Research. So ephedra is one of the things that we're going to talk about today in the context of adulteration of dietary supplements. So first question, is adulteration of dietary supplements prevalent? I'll be answering that question. So this slide from my first talk, which is focused on quality in dietary supplements, was widely posted on Facebook. This was an interesting study. It was a Canadian study. It was a blinded study where they investigated 44 products from 12 different supplement companies. The products that they investigated are available in the United States and Canada. And just a little bit more background about this study. It was a blinded, which means the scientists had no idea which company it was or which products they were investigating. Blinding is very common in scientific research. It prevents bias. So if you look very carefully at this study, you can see only 2 of the 12 companies actually, when they tested their products, they actually contained authentic products as labeled. Okay. Many of the products had fillers. So fillers are normally components that are added. They're generally inactive ingredients. They're added in addition to the active ingredients. In pharmaceutics, they can be referred to as excipients or diluents. They can be natural or synthetic. They're commonly added to a formulation. It can be a drug or a supplement. And they're generally used as a bulking agent, so that can help the manufacturing and tableting process. So you can see a number of them had unlabeled fillers. Now this can cause problems in the medical industry if you're finding unlabeled fillers, because one of the big things that can lead to allergies. You know, some patients can't, might have food allergies or might have other allergies. If fillers unlabeled, that can be a problem. The other thing that you can see is the red with the black dots. Those are contamination. Contaminations normally arise from poor manufacturing processes. But the one in red, that's product substitution. If you look across this, that is by far the most prevalent in all the supplements that was identified. Adulteration is the most prevalent when they were examining these studies. And that's important because this study formed the basis of an investigation by the New York State Attorney General. So specifically, that scientific report provided data to the New York Attorney General to actually go in and start looking at supplements. So what they did was they went in and they looked at 7 of the top-selling herbs: echinacea, garlic, ginkgo biloba, ginseng, saw palmetto, St. John's wort, valerian wort, many of the common herbs. They tested 24 of these products, so basically 6 products. They were from 4 major national distributors. And what's interesting is all the products but 5 were either unrecognized or contain a plant that was not on the label. So the technology that they used for this was DNA barcoding. This was the same technology in the first study that I showed. This was reported in the national media in 2015. So you can see headlines from the Washington Post, headlines from the New York Times. The New York Attorney General basically sent a letter and sued these companies for major distributors of supplements that many people go to acquire them, that they were selling adulterated supplements. So this was huge. This launched huge investigations into this, and this was just a year ago. This led to the state of Oregon that Attorney General to also investigate adulteration in dietary supplements. In this case, they looked at a certain small class of supplements. These are, the suit accused a major retailer of selling workout and weight loss supplements that were adulterated with stimulants. So, for example, supplements that contained unlabeled ingredients. This is a big issue. Specifically for the supplements that they looked at, Picamillion, which is a pharmaceutical used in Russia. So it's approved in a country outside of the United States, but it's not approved here. We have some of the highest regulation barriers for putting prescription drugs on the market due to our stringent requirements for safety. So one common practice in the supplement industry is to get drugs from other companies that are usually acceptable and adulterate their supplements with them. So the drug that they used is not natural and it's used to treat neurological disorders. They also looked at they actually included another compound. It's called DMPEA, is beta-methylphenylethylamine. This is a synthetic amphetamine, and this was also present. So they had two drugs that were included in these supplements, but they weren't on the label, and most of them had substantial pharmacological effects. So this led to another case that was filed, and made national headlines. Here's the headline of USA Today. Again, major retailers selling drug spikes, dietary supplements, investigated workout and weight loss supplements. Workout and weight loss supplements by far some of the largest class and the biggest sellers of dietary supplements. Adulteration is highly prevalent even today, even in many of the places where people access their dietary supplements. What is adulteration and why are supplements adulterated? Let me go ahead and begin with a definition. What is adulteration? A valuable ingredient in the supplement has been omitted in part or in whole and replaced with another substance. So many people go to these places and they think that the herb that's depicted on the bottle is in the bottle, but it's not actually there. That can be surprising to people. Another definition of adulteration is when you have damage or poor quality and it has been concealed. The other definition is an unlabeled substance has been added to increase the product's weight and make it appear of greater value, or has been added to enhance the use of the product. So they're putting more things to really enhance the value. So then we talk about the types of adulteration. So there are two major types of adulteration in supplements. First, an ingredient is added to spike the active compound or botanical material. Usually this is done to pass an analytical test. So they're trying to avoid detection. The other type of adulteration is a prescription drug or an active pharmaceutical ingredient is added to enhance potency. Okay? And those are not good. I mean, you're getting a supplement. You want something that's natural, and surprise, surprise, it has a prescription drug in it. We're going to talk more about that. There are two major mechanisms that adulteration occur. The first one is accidental adulteration. This comes from contamination, like I said, usually poor manufacturing process. But by far the largest is economically motivated adulteration. You have companies, they want to distinguish their product on the marketplace. A great way to do it, is to actually put a drug or put something that's not a drug that can give the patient or the user the effect they're looking for. Okay, so let's talk about the prevalence of adulteration. I've already said, many of the supplements that you see in the market have the potential to be adulterated. So across 10 months in 2013, the FDA issued warning letters to 37 manufacturers of supplements about 55 products. Products that they tested, these were adulterated. They all contain either a prescription or over-the-counter drug. They contain analogs of these known drugs that have not been evaluated for things like safety or even efficacy. Or they contain drugs that have been withdrawn from the United States market. Usually they're withdrawn for safety, or drugs that are not available in the U.S. because they simply don't have the safety profile. That's pretty serious, especially when we start talking about some of the things that they're adulterated with. And the other thing you need to keep in mind in these adulterated supplements is many people who are going to use a supplement, they're going to use it because they maybe have some underlying disease state. And if they have an underlying disease state, they're taking drugs. So this gives rise to, I guess you could say, supplement drug interaction, because they're getting another drug on top of what they're already taking. Okay? And if you want to,
they don't know what it is.
Exactly. So if you want to find these recalls, the website is right there at the bottom of my slide.
37 manufacturers with 55 products.
Yep. So how are supplements adulterated? Let's talk about that in a little more detail next. So these are notifications to manufacturers. This was a study done in the European Union. They examined supplement contamination. So if you look at this, these are the notifications sent to the manufacturers. So the most of the time they're contacting manufacturers for clearly unsubstantiated claims. That's 41% in blue. But the biggest slice of what we're going to talk about today is contamination. This is adulteration, that red highlighted section. It represents not only contamination, but also adulteration. And this is something that may surprise you. So this is a study done for 7 years in the European Union. And just think about it. Which country, when they looked at supplements, they looked at supplements available in Europe, but there were also supplements that were coming from other countries outside of Europe. Which country do you think represented the largest threat to the European Union due to the highest rate of adulteration? So think in your mind, which country?
When you asked me that question yesterday, I said China.
You said China, right. That is actually number 2.
And
so
number one,
U.S.
I guess, was U.S.
That's right.
Boy.
So they had a rate over triple of China for the number of supplements that were adulterated. So the biggest threat represented to the European Union, according to this study, of countries outside Europe was the United States, because they had so much adulteration in the supplement. So it definitely is an issue. So let's drill down into this contamination, and let's look at adulteration. All right, so this is actually the breakdown. And if you look, the blue pie on this pie chart, the largest one is sexual performance enhancers. The next one is weight loss. So we already talked about weight loss. That's in red, and strength enhancer in 17. I mean, your largest share of adulterated dietary supplements are some of your best sellers, which are weight loss and performance. And I'll definitely be talking a little bit more. This is kind of interesting when you look at the blue. The blue, there might be a number of guys on the line. If you're having one of these, male sexual performance enhancers, it's highly likely that it's adulterated with Viagra or a Viagra derivative.
Wow.
These data that they published, this was published in 2001. This is very representative in the other scientific literature as to where the adulterated supplements come about. So just keep that in mind. So common adulterants, what are people putting in? So in the context of these energy supplements, these weight loss supplements, one of the biggest adulterants is added caffeine. And this is an interesting way to do it, because a lot of them will list caffeine. And when you test them, they'll have caffeine, but they'll add excess amounts to really give a larger stimulant effect. So it takes a lot of effort to actually quantify the amount of caffeine. They can use other caffeine derivatives, theobromide, or they can use natural sources. So, for example, guanara, this is naturally occurring. These extracts naturally contain caffeine. All right, now we're going to talk about ephedra. This is enormously prevalent in many weight loss supplements. So this is a mixture of ephedrine and pseudoephedrine. Now, keep in mind, ephedra was withdrawn from the U.S. market, from the supplement market, in 2004, primarily because there were thousands of cardiovascular events that were related to people using supplements, and it's primarily in weight loss. Now, this is actually pretty cool. Let me tell you this. When they studied this for supplements that are weight loss and energy supplements, many of them are adulterated with ephedra. And what's interesting that I find is the supplements that say ephedra-free they're actually more likely to be adulterated with ephedra, and those don't say anything at all.
What?
Yep, that's an interesting, very interesting sidebar.
And how does that get by? So no one's testing it.
Well, you can put a supplement on the market, but it's only until you have concerns for safety that people will start investigating that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
No
so
one's testing.
supplements are unregulated. It's not like prescription medication where you have to do years and years of clinical trials to establish safety. You can put them on the market very quickly. So carnitine is prevalent in many energy supplements. Sibutramine, this is also very common. This was another weight loss drug. It was on the market in the U.S. It had a lot of cardiovascular issues, so it was withdrawn. Let's see, and then ecstasy. I mean, can you imagine getting weight loss supplements and having something like ecstasy in it? So, yeah. Oh, and just so you know, when I say weight loss, I'm also including those quick slim products. So lose 10 pounds fast. That includes in weight loss products. Next
sell
on these,
late night TV, right? So,
yep.
So what happened to people who have that stuff in, ecstasy in a supplement that they think is going to help them lose weight? What happens to them? So we know about the ephedra-based stuff. That's like heart attacks people had, and these are overweight people, so it's a very dangerous thing. What happens to them?
Well, they have some sort of adverse outcome. I mean, if they have a serious adverse outcome, they're going to probably take a trip to their physician. And if that, the physicians will then write a report and they'll send it in. And when enough of those reports hit the FDA, they'll launch an investigation. So many people perceive that dietary supplements are all natural. So that's why they turn to them, especially in the context of weight loss. And they think that I'm getting something all natural, it's going to be safer, it's going to be without risk. And many times they're quite surprised that it might contain a prescription pharmaceutical or something that once was but removed from the market because it's not even safe. So another piece of data, we move forward in my slide, but I do want to finish up this talk on weight loss. This is another study. It was published in 2009 where they looked at weight loss products, these slimming agents, and of 105 supplements tested, 35 were adulterated. So 1 out of 3 were adulterated. One of the big ones, sexual performance. These are commonly adulterated with erectile dysfunction drugs, with Viagra, Cialis, or some derivative. I mean, if these things work, that's actually probably what they have in them. And I'll tell you how companies are able to put these drugs and derivatives of these drugs a little bit later in my talk. The next big area is cognitive enhancers. People are worried about, as they get older, they don't want to have declining brain function. You want to be more aware. I'm on a college campus. You want to be more awake. You want to be more alert. You want to increase your brain's capacity to learn. Well, what's usually adulterated in these? Caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, so that increases mental alertness. They can put substantially more caffeine that they're being labeled. They can be adulterated with ephedra, as I've already said. These are stimulants. Stimulants are well known to increase alertness. St. John's wort, this is an antidepressant. They have to be careful with St. John's wort. To me, it's enormously scary that they're adulterating supplements with St. John's wort because St. John's wort has 29 known clinically significant herb-drug interactions. I mean, it interacts with many prescription pharmaceuticals. The other one that can be a prominent adulterant in cognitive enhancers is kava kava. Now, this is kind of cool. I like the thinking about this. I mean, obviously, it's from something that's more sinister, but you take a cognitive enhancer, and what they do is they put a sedative. So think about that. You want to be alert. You take it, and you're not too sure if you're alert or not. But then all of a sudden you start getting tired. And it's like, oh, it must have made me more alert because now I'm starting to get more tired. So it's a really, really sinister way of forcing people, well, if you're tired now, you need to take more so you're not tired. Exactly. So with kava kava, while it's a sedative, it's actually not that safe because it's well known to cause liver toxicity.
It was pulled from the market, I thought.
Yeah.
That was pulled from the market, but it snuck in here, so.
Just because something's been pulled from the market, if a supplement manufacturer wants to put it in to push their product, they're going to go ahead and put it in.
And have caused liver damage. Oh, gosh.
Yep. Yeah, if you're taking kava for a long period of time, it can have serious detrimental effects on the liver. So strength enhancers, we're going to hit this one. We're going to get back into the national news. So strength enhancers, a lot of these supplements contain actually anabolic androgenic steroids, creatine, protein, or additional caffeine. And so let's move into the national news. Some of you might be familiar with this. This is Balco Labs. This is the Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative. This is interesting because this company was organized to supply performance-enhancing dietary supplements to professional athletes. Okay? And they guaranteed the athletes that by taking these performance-enhancing supplements, that they would not fail any drug test. Okay? But what they actually did was they put testosterone, they put steroids, they put growth hormones, they put erythropoietin into these supplements. Okay? But then they devised ways using science that the athlete would actually avoid detection. And this was so bad that there was a subject of a major federal investigation in 2002. Many Olympic athletes, NFL players, Major League Baseball players were implicated and tied to Balco Labs. If you want to, go into Google, type in Balco Labs, pull it up on Wikipedia, and you can learn about all this. And this is interesting because they were basically giving performance-enhancing supplements, I mean, these drugs, you're talking about testosterone, to these professional athletes without them knowing. And you wonder if they just, if they knew or not. And that's, some of these athletes appeared before the Senate, but that was their strategy. They charged them incredible amounts of money, and they just did their work to make sure that their athletes would get around the drug test. So here's a deliberate case of adulteration. It made national headlines.
And super expensive, right? And sold at exorbitant prices.
Oh yeah, it would make some of the products that Shackley, those would be a drop in the bucket compared to how much these professional athletes, again, these are making millions of dollars, are paying for these supplements. Oxy Elite Pro, this is, go to the website, they say their product is the #1 selling fat burner. This product, Oxy Elite Pro, it's sustained weight loss, suppressed appetite, sharper mental focus, higher energy. These are all the claims. They hit on all of the areas where you're talking about some of the highest selling supplements. But as I've already said, these claims are some of the most common for adulterated supplements. So this outbreak, the FDA and the CDC actually responded in March 2015. Across 2 years, there were 114 MedWatch reports. So when a physician has a patient that they suspect is having a severe poor outcome, they will fill out one of these MedWatch reports. That's where they actually send it. That's how you get it into the system. There were 55 cases of non-viral liver disease, 33 hospitalizations, and 5 liver transplants. This is a supplement they reformulated with edulane. They did not notify the FDA of this new dietary ingredient. So this natural isolation comes from a tree in India, but there's no evidence for safety. So they just put it in there to try and distinguish the product from the market. There's no safety evidence, and there's horrible outcomes. I can't believe taking a supplement to increase your athletic performance and then going to the hospital and having to have your liver come out. That's just incredible. So what are the common methods that are used for adulteration of dietary supplements? We'll talk about these in a little more detail. So I need to talk a little bit about drug discovery, okay? So the largest portion of pharmaceuticals on the market are designed from naturally occurring molecules. These are natural products. compounds isolated from nature. By studying natural products, which is what I do, studying the structure of these molecules as well as their biological activity, there's a good chance that you can either use that molecule or modify its structure. That way you can have a prescription pharmaceutical. So camptothecin is a natural product. It's isolated from Camphospectus humanata. That's the Chinese happy tree. This is a compound that has potent anti-cancer activity, but it's very toxic to the kidney. So what scientists were able to do, and you can see the structure on your right, they've made a few modifications to the structure, basically to increase its solubility so it doesn't have such a terrible effect on the kidneys, and you have an excellent anti-cancer agent. This is topotecan. It's a widely used chemotherapy. This is a major strategy in drug discovery. Now, in supplements, one of the problems that they have is when they try and adulterate dietary supplements is you don't actually want to put a prescription drug. The reason is if you get caught, that's a huge fine. I mean, you're dealing with the FDA, depending on what drug you're using. If it's a controlled substance, the DEA is involved. You don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to use these same type of chemistry structure changes, and that is molecules that have similar structures generally have similar biological activity. So what the goal is to go in and take a prescription drug and then modify its structure just slightly. So here I have an example of Viagra, and you can't really see it, but one of the the oxygen atom, is replaced on the right with an S. It's sulfur atom. So just one slight change. It's kind of at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's called basically thiosildenafil. That compound is not a prescription drug, okay, but it has very similar biological activities. And actually this compound, thiosildenafil, this is actually one of the more common things that's used to adulterate and give the same effect as Viagra. This is in these male sexual performance, enhancing supplements that I talked about. Using this compound gets around the fact that you're not using a prescription drug. So obviously there are issues with that, but they're not as bad as using a prescription drug. Okay?
But probably never tested for safety.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, there's a reason why, Viagra and Cialis, they have a much better safety profile than some of the other compounds. I mean, to put a product on the market as a prescription drug, you make hundreds, sometimes thousands of derivatives to find the one that is safe enough and has enough efficacy to be approved by the FDA. But that can come to bite you because then we know what are the other compounds that aren't prescription drugs, and that's what's used for adulterating supplements. So here's an example of the FDA analysis and product recall from Blue Square Market. They market Kaboom action strips. These are for men's vitality. They were found to contain that Viagra derivative. Here's another weight loss substance, Li-Da-Di-Di-Hoa, contains sibutramine and phenolphthalein. That's a withdrawn over-the-counter laxative. Here's another one in 2005. In 2015, I'm trying to keep this as up to the moment accurate as possible. So we're talking about a lot of things that are happening in the past 12 months. This is an FDA analysis and product recall. This is Miracle Rock, Miracle Stud. Obviously, men's vitality contains that same Viagra derivative, which I just showed, thiosildenafil. Miracle Diet 30, weight loss, contains phenolphthalein. This was a withdrawn over-the-counter laxative. Very common examples of adulteration dietary supplements.
So, David, these adulterated things, are they sold over the internet? How do they reach their market?
Oh, you can get them over the internet. You can get them from major retailers. Where the Oregon State Attorney General was investigating GNC for adulterated supplements. So they're definitely within grasp of many people. Let me talk about some additional strategies for adulteration. So we talked about ephedra, talked everything about it. Now, when ephedra was banned in 2004, country mallow, which is another herb that contains ephedra, was also banned. So they tried to ban everything that was ephedra and ephedra-like. But what they didn't ban was bitter orange. So bitter orange contains a compound called synephrine, which is very similar to ephedrine. It's a stimulant. It has the same cardiovascular issues, but it was not banned. So most of the supplements that had ephedra, they actually turned to bitter orange, which isn't any better. I mean, it avoids using a banned compound, but you're using the same thing. And I'll give you a nice little medicinal chemistry lecture. Next slide. These are the structures of ephedrine and pseudoephedrine. Ephedrine is prescription. It's a cardiovascular stimulant. Pseudoephedrine is Sudafed. Most of you have probably heard of that. Bitter orange. This is synephrine from bitter orange. Very similar structure to ephedra. Now, if you look at the structure of synephrine and phenylephrine, they are almost the exact molecule. You just have that OH at a little bit different position. It's important because phenylephrine is the active in Sudafed PE. So phenylephrine is a common adulterant. It's a good way if you have bitter orange and you want to make it more potent, you want to put more of the active, you can put that in, and phenylephrine will actually, it's an over-the-counter drug, it will actually pass a lot of the analytical tests. You can't tell phenylephrine compared to synephrine using a lot of tests. So it's a way to adulterate and even make your bitter orange extract even more potent. Okay?
That's even assuming there's somebody doing the testing.
Right.
But
so it's a very common adulterant. Now, why is that? So here's the take-home message. All of these compounds are very similar to amphetamine and methamphetamine. These are stimulants, horrible effects, and this is why a lot of them have been withdrawn from the market or they're behind the market because they can be a problem. I mean, if you look at Sudafed, Sudafed is now behind the counter because people who make, hard street drugs, you can actually take Sudafed and convert it into meth. That's why we track Sudafed very carefully. But you look at the structures, they have these similar stimulant effects. You really don't want to be taking these compounds.
And would they become addictive like meth?
They can be, have serious detrimental outcomes. I mean, if you're taking these compounds and you're taking these stimulants and you're continually taking them, that's where it becomes, in the context of ephedra, it becomes, cumulative and having really bad cardiovascular effects. You're constantly taking amphetamine. It's not a good thing. So how do scientists analyze supplements? I can move through this pretty quickly. Next, there are a number of analytical tools that can be used. The thing to keep in mind is manufacturers, when they're trying to produce their products, they can analyze their raw material, their ingredients, their formulations. They can analyze all of these things or nothing at all. Some manufacturers can actually be fooled if they're trying to make quality supplements. They can be buying raw materials or buying ingredients that are, they're given certifications that they're quality products, but unless they're investigating and really trying to test them, they can be adulterated. So without an intention, a supplement manufacturer can actually put an adulterated supplement onto the market.
And it's not required.
Yeah. So the next slide, So mass spectrometry, NMR, these are common tools that can be used. They're, require very expensive analytical equipment to gather this data to analyze UV, vis, IR. I'm not going to spend too much time, but expensive analytical equipment. And a lot of times there is no one test that can be used to validate. Usually you have to do multiple tests to make sure not only that you have the actives that you want, but you want to examine for other contaminants, or in some cases, make sure you don't have any adulterant. So now we're going to wrap up what sources are available about dietary supplements. I want to go ahead and give this information out. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult without scientific intervention to find adulterants, especially when you have manufacturers that put adulterants that can avoid detection and through some of these analytical methods. There's nothing you can do about that. But I do want to talk a little bit about some of the resources for Shaklee distributors. The first one is the NIH National Institutes of Health, ODS. This is the Office of Dietary Supplements. They provide fact sheets to patients as well as healthcare professionals. This is some of the best data out there. I mean, it's the highest quality. It's reviewed by scientists at the NIH. It's cross-referenced through scientific literature, which you can actually access in PubMed. I'm pleased because whenever I get contacted about questions about supplements, I've gotten a lot of them about Shaklee supplements. Every time I go to this resource to try and find the answer, it's always there, and I'm always pleased that Shaklee their products are 100% backed by the scientific literature. I mean, it's just so great to go to the National Institutes of Health. They're a federal agency. They're some of the best in the world. And they put the data, and Shaklee uses that data, and their data supports theirs. So that's very pleasing to me. There's Memorial Sloan Kettering about herbs. They put together this database because many patients who are afflicted with cancer, they'll want to optimize their nutrition. So they put together this database to help people undergoing chemotherapy to know what they should and shouldn't be taking. Consumer Labs is an excellent third-party organization that tests supplements. They've been a major motivation of change. I would encourage you, if you haven't already done this, get that paid subscription. It's really not that expensive. They help to identify contaminants, and sometimes they can also identify adulterated supplements. They publish this. Very recently, I was notified by Dr. Daggy that one of Shaklee supplements, one of their lead products, it passed the Consumer Lab report. And this is one of the most stringent reports, third-party testing, that's out there. So I would encourage you to at least look into this site. It's an excellent resource for people who are talking about supplements. In this case, Shaklee Distributors trying to distribute them. And then there's the NIH, the National Center for Complementary and Integrated Health. They have an ebook that's available for your iPad, for your Kindle. So you can get a lot of good information right off the bat if you go to these sites. So we'll wrap up. I'm coming from the University of Mississippi. This is a picture of the Lyceum. This is the first building erected in the University of Mississippi. It was built in 1848. You can see its wonderful architecture. If you ever come down to the University of Mississippi, this is a wonderful place to visit. It was used as a hospital during the Civil War. It's, if you look at the bottom right and you see the emblem, there's that little red emblem. That is the Lyceum. The Lyceum is one of the most historic buildings in the University of Mississippi because it has the office of the chancellor and the provost. And the University of Mississippi, the chancellor has an open door policy. So the students or the faculty, if they want to, they can go into the Lyceum, and if he's there, if he or she is there, they can go ahead and meet.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Open door policy.
Yep, and so this is a picture of the National Center for Natural Products Research. This is one of the largest centers for natural products research in the country. It has one of the longest running grants in the history of the National Institutes of Health. They have scientists from the FDA and the USDA. They have wonderful science focused on natural products research for drug discovery and supplement discovery. They're an excellent resource, and I'm proud to have an joint appointment in this facility. They've helped my research program tremendously, and I'm glad that I can use their resources to provide what Shaklee some of the highest quality information that there is out there, and usually just some of the most cutting edge, as I've done tonight. So that's my last slide.
Oh gosh,
any questions?
Oh my gosh, yes, we always have questions and comments. And one of them from Carol Cash, she said, I'm so happy, let me get it exactly what she said. I'm so happy we're learning this and so appreciate David's expertise, but I'm kind of depressed.
Yeah.
It really is shocking, even for those of us who have been inside the supplement industry for many years. I just had no idea that this stuff was going on at all. I mean, I knew some products weren't the quality that Shaklee is, but so much of this is deliberate. That's what's really troubling and terribly dangerous. I mean, it's not just that someone's wasting their money and they're getting something that isn't there. We've known for years that it's common for people to put stuff on the label that's not in their product, but this goes way beyond that.
Doesn't it just make you that much more proud to be affiliated with Shaklee, knowing the difference in our stand?
There are major investigations going to some of the largest retailers of supplements that are basically coming forward on finding adulterated supplements. And those massive cases have been launched last year. It's really big in the supplement industry.
A couple of people have said, now, could we just clarify about the caffeine question, is that there is caffeine in Shaklee's energizing tea and the energy chews, but this is naturally occurring caffeine from green tea extract. And so, David, do you want to make a distinction about what you were caffeine when it's added for the purpose of weight loss?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to. So obviously, there's caffeine in many things. There's caffeine in coffee. There's caffeine in green tea. Doing, appropriate extracts is safe. And I can actually say this. Irregardless of what herb or plant you're taking plants is safe. It's only when you get into the context of concentrating them down, or some of these extracts that get really concentrated, they cause issues. Eating a plant, eating the leaves of a plant, there's nothing wrong with that. So starting from just nature, prior, thousands of years ago, that is safe. But it's when you get to these extracts that start causing problems. So when you start concentrating them down, that has an issue. But in the context of adulteration, what they're doing is they're adding additional caffeine on top of what's already there. So not only are they taking an extract, probably concentrating it down, they're putting more and more caffeine to give a larger stimulant. That's the problem. But having, a green tea extract from Shackley, or, going and having your coffee, there's not going to be an issue with that.
And see, the reason this is so important, David, is that we can tell people that Shackley runs 100,000 quality control tests, and we can tell them that it tests for 350 different contaminants when the U.S. Pharmacopoeia recommends 80. But it doesn't mean anything until you see what you shared here about what is going on, because we don't know how bad the products are that are in the marketplace and the extent of it. I mean, when you said that the European Union had the #1 source of their adulterated supplements, the adulterations were coming from the United States, that is a terrible reflection on what is happening and the popularity, I think, of supplements and how much people are making a profit because it's trendy now. And when I think of, here's a company that's been around 60 years now this year, and they have just been every year making these supplements with all based on science, with a research lab, doing research. Oh, and you know what, when you were mentioning those machines and the testing equipment,
chromatography,
tell them about how much that stuff costs, because that's the stuff that is not required.
Oh, some of those instruments, a cheap one, the one that I had pictures of an HPLC, that can cost anywhere from about $50,000 to about $200,000. You're talking with some of the GCMS and LCMS and LCMS. You can easily get to $500,000 to $1 million. NMRs, those can easily run between $500,000 to $1 million. So it costs a tremendous amount of money to do the test the right way. And like I said, normally you need more than one. You might need more than two. So having access to this analytical equipment is enormously important.
And I saw a figure recently, Joe or Hannah, I don't know if you recall, about how many millions of dollars Shackley has spent on research over the years, but I want to say it was 100 million, or it was a huge number.
No, it's more than that.
More than that.
It's more than that. Oh yeah, it's somewhere between 200 and 300 million now.
Yeah.
200 and 300 million. Well, you can see why, because a lot of it was for that equipment.
And though that equipment is the kind of equipment that Shackley has.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And has had for years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. David, you are just so. I just love it when you come to visit, because it's a little shocking, but it's really good for us to understand this. It's very important.
Barb, I want to clarify something. One person made this comment, and other people may think this way also. This gal says, I thought Consumer Lab earned money from companies paying for their services, so they aren't totally objective. That is absolutely not true. consumer lab companies do not know when or if any of their products will be tested. No one pays to have their product tested by them.
Are they thinking of consumer reports? Go ahead, David.
Let me tell you. So you can pay consumer labs to be certified by them. Okay.
Okay.
They will undergo all their testing. I'm pretty sure that they have that option available. I know at one point it was, but obviously their usual standard operating procedures is they're going to look at, for example, fish oil. So they'll look at all the top-selling fish oils. They'll go ahead and do that, and they'll analyze all of them, and then they'll put the data out. So I think you can. I know at one point you could get a consumer lab certification, but most of the ones that you look at when you go on that website, they're not pushing the certification. They're not marketing that. What's actually on the website is when they go through and say, we're going to look at maltite, we're going to look at vitamin A, we're going to look at vitamin D. Those are where you're going to see all the 30 or 40 top selling, or sometimes well beyond that. And you can actually see who is contaminated, who has heavy metals, who has more or less than as labeled, who has other ingredients that aren't labeled. That's where you get that really high level of objectivity.
Very good. Yes, and that's a subscription to that, a monthly subscription. But yeah, that's good to understand, because there are other consumer-sounding publications that may not be as independent as that. Okay, Joe. Anything else we have to cover before we wrap?
I think there's one good one here. It says, "Can you address the St. John's wort guarana that Shackley uses in contrast to this alarming information?"
Well, guarana is in MindWorks, and it's a different guarana. In fact, I remember when MindWorks was introduced, they made a very important distinction, because they were concerned about the Red Bull type, Monster. Anyway, there's a lot of energy drinks and energy products that were on the market that were just loaded with caffeine, but the guarana plant, that this particular species that came from I think it was the Amazon region, that's the one that had this property that created the connectivity for the neurons in the brain. David, do you want to speak to that?
I think you covered all the points. And let me ask, was the question about guarana, or was it around St. John's wort?
I think they confused the two. So St. John's wort was the one that you said had 29 known drug interactions, and maybe you want to speak to that for a minute.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Barb, but I don't think that Shackley has any St. John's wort in any of their supplements.
No, they do. It's called Mood Lift. It's okay. Mood Lift, but and it's a good product too.
So with St. John's wort, you have to be very careful. This is especially important when you talk about adulteration. Is first off, you want to make sure that it's labeled and in the appropriate quantities. St. John's wort does have enormous potential for clinically significant drug interactions. So that's one that you're definitely going to have to be careful about. If someone's getting supplements from other sources, you want to make sure that you know what's in the bottle. And definitely if they're taking St. John's wort, you want to make sure that your physician knows about it. Because the way that these clinically significant drug interactions were found is actually quite horrible. Patients who had recently undergone organ transplants started taking St. John's wort. I mean, they had undergone organ transplant, they were depressed. St. John's wort is a prescription drug in Germany. It's a functioning antidepressant. It works well. But the issue is it hits many different pathways, so it has many potential drug interactions. There were 3 patients who recently undergone an organ transplant that started on St. John's wort. It interfered with their levels of anti-rejection medication, and they lost the organ, and they died. When that happens, when you had patients dying from taking a supplement, that set off so many red flags, not only in industry and the FDA and the NIH, that St. John's wort became the poster child of, we need to know more about this herb, we need to know what it does and what it's doing, and they or fully characterized 29 interactions, and the ones that are clinically significant, these are really bad interactions. So with St. John's wort, if you're taking that, you need to know that you're taking something that's good. You don't want it like caffeine where they're just shoveling a bunch in. That can be really bad. So St. John's wort, you have to be careful about that one.
So you have to be careful if you are taking a medication, but if you're not in and of itself, it shouldn't be a problem. It's the drug interaction
Correct.
that you're concerned about. Okay, because I know it can reduce the effectiveness of birth control. That's a good one to know. And if someone is already on an antidepressant, then it can mess with your brain chemicals. So you want to do one or the other, but not both.
Right.
And Barb, I think Shackley clearly says that Mood Lift contains St. John's wort.
Yes.
One of the big issues is when it's put into products and people don't know it's there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, this is so great.
Wow, this was great. Whoa.
David, we just want to adopt you. Okay. Thank you for coming, and we have David come and visit periodically with all this uplifting information. And so very important for us to know, and we so appreciate him and the work that you do, and so can hardly wait to see what your next topic's going to be when you come for a visit.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
So much,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.